Alright, so in this question, there's 50 readers in total, so I'm going to draw a big box with 50 total on the side. And then you've got to draw 2 circles. That represent science fiction and detective stories. Alright, so science fiction is S, detective story is H. So what we want to do is write 3 equations that represent the situation and solve it. So we have 31 students that like science fiction. So what we do before we start is label it with lowercase a, lowercase b, and lowercase c so we can use them. So science fiction is this little circle here. What symbol represents science fiction? Well, A and B both like science fiction, so that must equal to 31. You just have to make sure you're not accidentally write 31. You're writing 31 in the A section. Right, then you've got to read the second part, which is 20 people like detective stories, which is the symbol B and C, as you can see. So B plus C must be 20 people. And now the last fact is that 12 dislike both. So, if these circles represent the people that like science fiction and detective stories, the people that dislike both will just go outside of the circles in the box. So 12 people in here. Cool. So now the last fact we can write is the circles A plus B plus C. If I add all of the circles, they will add up to the people, that's the total, take the people who dislike both science fiction and detective stories, which just simplifies down to 38. So I'm not going to use this one, but I will use these 3 equations. So all I have to do is just realize that A plus B is also present in this equation and just substitute that in as 31. So instead of A plus B, I can write 31 plus C equals 38, and then I should be able to find C. So to get rid of 31, I just got to do minus 31 to both sides. Therefore, I have C equals 7, so I can write that in the little circles. So I've got 7 people who only like detective stories. Then what I should be able to do is substitute this value back into these 2 equations, or one of them, this one in particular, and find the other value. So my B plus C equals 20. So I should be able to find what my B is. I take 7 from both sides, so therefore B must be 20 take 7, which is 13. So I have 13 in my B area, which is people who like science fiction as well as detective stories. Then I got to solve my A part, which then I just use the first equation, so over here. So I use A plus B is 13 equals 31. I take 13 from both sides, so therefore A must be 13 take 31 take 13, which is 18. So let's just double check all the information just so we are sure of our Venn diagram. So 31 people like science fiction. Well, that's this many people. 18 plus 13. Is that correct? Yep, that's 31. 20 people like detective stories. That's this many people. 13 plus 7 is 20. Great. So that fact is correct, that fact is correct. And then 12 people is outside. So if I add all of these numbers together, they should add up to 50 people. So 18 plus 13 plus 7 plus 12 must be 50. Let's just double check it. If I add these together, that's 31. If I add these together, it's 38. Add these together, it's 50. So there we go. So now I know that the Venn diagram is correct. I should be able to go to part B. Alright, let's have a look at part B. B asks the probability that they like science fiction and detective stories. So that's this people in here that like both of them. So that's the probability. 13. So probability of liking both stories is 13 over how many people? 50 people. BII is exactly one of science fiction and detective stories. So only one of them. So let's have a look. I'm going to highlight them in a different colour. There will be this many people. There's 18 people who only like science fiction. And there's 7 people who only like detective stories. So you just got to add them together. So let's write a little probability for it. So probability of likes exactly 1. So I just got to add them together. 18 plus 7 over 50, which is 25 over 50, which also always remember to divide them if you can simplify them. So I can divide them both by 5. And I can also divide them by 5 again. So it comes to half.